Oh, my chair's too low. It won't go up any higher. I've broken it.
Get a pillow, sit on it.
Oh, you get a pillow and sit on it.
Oh, my chair's fine.
So,
Warning, this podcast may contain bad language and content that some listeners may find mundane. And also, it's World Sight Day, not technically today, and not technically when this episode comes out, but somewhere between the two.
yep, yep. I'm more interested in talking about my broken chair, but
Clearly.
it is more interesting. I'm missing several screws from underneath, so if I sit in a certain position, it just slowly sinks because the casters are broken.
I think you're the only one who's finding this chat interesting.
Yeah, gotta make yourself laugh, I suppose.
You're not laughing.
Oh,
Let's
okay,
get
let's do
on.
this. Let's do this shit. Welcome back to Seesaw Podcast, the broken chair that is podcasts.
Weak.
They can't all be five-star bangers. So, maybe
We're
there'll
the
be some,
World Sight Day of podcasts. Some people may have heard of it.
but probably not.
Probably not.
And not in a good time frame because this show isn't going to count, like going to get it either way.
Hmm.
Ah, well, happy World Sight Day to everyone who's on Twitch with us or listening to us on the recording. As Cleaves said, it isn't actually World Sight Day, but depending on when you listen to this, it might be.
Right, so here's a test of who's done their homework. When is World Sight Day?
10th.
Oh, one to Selina. T didn't know.
It's ladies first, isn't it? I've got to be a gentleman.
Bullshit.
No.
I'd have jumped in with the correct answer if
Oh,
Selena
yeah,
said the
yeah. But
11th.
you didn't want to, mansplain everything and all that. Yeah,
No,
I get it. I get
no, you've got a jingle for that.
it. I've not used that in a while.
No, you haven't.
Oh, yeah. Da-na-na.
And there's the new jingle. So, before we jump into a classic episode of Icons, let's do the roundup of what people have been going on about.
Can I go first? I've got some
Yeah.
great shit this week.
Okay.
Ooh,
Well, it's not great, but I've just got some good little factoids about not World Sight Day, but sort of about World Sight Day. But let me tell you a little story first.
okay.
Thursday morning, I wake up. I'm like, well, there's a lot of flashing in my vision, which isn't abnormal, but there's a lot of flashing and then there's an alarming amount. So I was like, should probably get myself down A&E, really. So I got up, had a shower, called an Uber, went to A&E. They're like, you need to go to eye casualty. Luckily, just opened. I was the second person in there. Pretty good. And I was basically like, yeah, I've had this cataract operation. They told me that if I've got like excessive flashing in my vision, to come down. So I went there. I got seen within 40 minutes. Not bad going, I thought. I
Ooh,
mean, there was only one other person there, but whatever.
this
Uh,
QMC.
GMT, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Well, that's good. 40 minutes, even with one person in
Yeah, but this
front
is
of you.
eye casualty. This is not A&E.
I'd love to
Um,
see that Channel 4 show. High
eye
casualty.
casualty. Da-na-na-na-na.
So,
Anyway, they did the usual thing, read the chart. And then they were like, "Oh, what can you see with your left eye?" I'm like, "Well, not the chart." Uh, and then they did the usual thing, precious, put the drops in. Then I go see the consultant guy, and oh man, he looked in the back of my eyes for a long ass time. And then he's like, "Right, I'm going to use a bigger lens. I'm going to have to put it right up against your eye. I'm going to put some numbing drops in." Flashes this light in my eyes, and I might have only been looking at it for like 5 minutes, which doesn't sound a lot, but when you just sat there with bright light in your dilated pupil eyes, like my whole body's just tense, and then
yeah,
like you sit away from the headrest, and you're like, oh man, like my body hurts.
yeah.
Um, anyway,
Well,
he
try not to
puddled,
blink. Try not
yeah,
to
I
blink.
know, right, yeah,
Try not to blink, you prick.
and he's wiping all this gel stuff out of my eye that he's put on the lens. Anyway, he's like, right, we're going to send you off for some scans and photos, which they did. Comes back and we see another specialist, his superior, And then it turns out I got fluid on my macula or something, and they give me some eye drops. They were like, 50% chance it'll work, 50% chance it won't, but there's no harm in doing it. And if it doesn't work, then we'll give you this other thing potentially, but it might fuck with your kidneys, so we don't really want to do that.
Oh
Other
my
than
God.
that, just get on getting on. Few things I will say about this. Both of the people that I saw in eye casualty seemed more competent than a specialist I normally see at regular, like, eye outpatients. And the second thing I will say is nearly everyone in eye casualty knew what it was like to help a blind person around, whereas everyone in eye outpatients seemed to have no idea what the fuck a blind person is doing there. Like a lot of it, like the first, in fact, the guy in A&E when I got there, Uber, let me shout out the Uber drivers as well. Both of them were great. I had an Uber assist. Um, he showed me to the door, but it was like, look, I can't leave the car. I was like, no, fair play. But he helped me to the actual door. Then I got into A&E. But I didn't know where the desk was. So luckily, there was just a cleaner. I was just like, can you show me to the desk? Fine. Showed me to A&E desk. And the person was like, oh, you need to go eye casualty. Don't worry, I'll walk you around. He's like, oh, do you need an arm or anything? I was like, great. And then, like, actually at eye casualty, both the consultants were like, oh, look, do you need an arm here and there? Oh, yeah. And then I think probably the most annoying part of the entire whatever, experience was right at the end. They're like, oh, we'll get you these eye drops. Do you want to go grab them for the pharmacy or do you want someone to go up and get them for you? And I thought to myself, oh, I can save a tenner on prescription here. Would you mind going and getting them for me? Anyway, they were like, yeah, we'll do it. And they've got like a hospital runner. That's more only thing I can describe them as, like a sort of roadie or a showrunner that I guess just helps people around in the area and goes and grabs prescriptions and stuff, whatever. And then she was like, "Oh, I dropped your prescription off upstairs. I'll go pick it up. Should be 25 minutes." I was like, "Oh, fucking, that's like nearly the longest I've waited all day." Anyway, she comes by in pretty much bang on that time, actually. Fair play. It was a good estimate. And then she was like, "Right, you're free to go." Um, she was like, "Oh, do you need help, any help getting out?" And I was like, "Yeah. Can you just show me to the main entrance?" Now, this particular person, I don't know, maybe had, I kind of got the feeling that they might have had like learning difficulties or something like that, potentially. But they did ask me what my stick was for. But I don't hold that against this particular person because it did seem, and if they didn't, then apologies. But they were very helpful, to be fair. And they asked me if I wanted help calling the Uber and things like that, and I was like, no, I was fine. So can't fault them really. So all in all, I would say everyone at iCasualty pretty bob on at QMC,
It's good.
Nice.
and that's my iCasualty story.
Has there been the movement with the drops?
I would say it's gone back down to a lot as opposed to an alarming amount.
Okay.
So that's quite good, right?
And how long have you got to take them for?
At least a month.
Oh, wow.
But they gave me 2 months worth, and they were like, "We'll get you an appointment next month to see how it's gone."
And did they comment on why you had that cataract operation, whether that was...
Well, what they said was it can occur as part of RP naturally, or it can be brought on by cataract operation. And what I can tell you in the last 2 months is a lot has been brought on by that cataract operation. So I'm not discounting this to be part of it. But yeah, quick blind stories that were actually quite long.
Selina P, do you want to go next?
I mean, I've got nothing on that. Yeah, I'm just home alone. Santi's gone
Have
to
you
China.
set up a load of traps?
Yeah,
Getting that time of year.
Santi's in China and Japan for work. Well, he's in China now, then he's going to Japan. So, fending for myself.
Oh,
That was quick blinding.
Yeah,
was
I mean,
very quick.
I've not really been doing anything exciting. A bit of work, bit of training. It's usual life, just by myself. Having to cook for myself. It's quite, yeah, that's the only downside.
What about you, Timu? Fallen on any stairs recently?
No, But did someone say, let's make a medical escapade sandwich with Selina being alone in the middle?
Go,
Oh,
go
okay.
on. You could be the Billy Bear meat that no one wanted.
So I've had medical things going on for a while now, 9, 10 months, with a lot of pain in my balls and my kidneys, and generally just not having a good time with it. Put me in hospital once, nearly put me in hospital another time. But I was like, they're not going to find anything. They didn't find anything last time, so whatever, ride it out. Um, so finally, I had an ultrasound after having at least 7 different specialists, you know, grab hold of me down there, have a look around and go, it's fine. It's like, no, it's not. I'm on very strong painkillers because it's not fine. Finally get an ultrasound, which I had on Friday. What I will say is I don't know what it's like for pregnant women who is the demographic for ultrasounds, and that's probably a magical experience. But this one, it was probably one of the more uncomfortable things I've ever been through. They're quite firm when they're doing stuff. What I will also say is they must have used at least a bottle of gel.
That was going to be my question. Did you have gel on your balls for your ultrasound?
I did, and my kidneys and my stomach, and they just kept going and just kept going.
Yeah, you
And
usually have
then
to pay someone for that kind of treatment.
I know, I know, I had to hold myself, and then they just sort of put this metal thing on me. So
Okay.
I didn't even get any enjoyment out of it. So tons of gel. And then at the end, they like just give me like essentially one kitchen roll square and like, oh, you can clean yourself
Wipe
up.
yourself up.
I'm like,
Brilliant.
what, what's this gonna do? Really? Um, so I had a gown. I was just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna use that.
Hmm.
Um, they did find something in my left testy, which
Silly.
was validation because although it sounds very strange, I wanted them to find something because they can find something, they can fix something. And I didn't want to just walk away and be like, okay, what's next? MRI? What am I going to be doing next? Waiting 6 months for another specialist. So I'm glad they found something. Then they said, oh, your doctor will get your test results, and they'll let you know. So got that chat with the doctor this week coming up. But I'm also very impatient. So I went on the NHS app and I read my own results. And yeah, there's quite a lot of shit going on down there, to be honest. A lot more than should be going on when they say right testy, fine, left testy, and it's basically 2 pages worth of notes. And
Usually,
I'm like,
right testy is how they describe you.
yeah, terrible joke. So now it's on to next steps with things. Kidneys are fine, all that stuff. That was good. But now it's on to potentially having biopsy done on some stuff, which I am less thrilled about than the ultrasound, to say the least. Um, but yeah, we found something and hopefully it can be fixed. Well, there's one way of fixing it, and that's something that I might have to deal with down the line. And that has been my life for 9 months and finally getting some movement. And because I have an actual update, that's why I'm saying it now, even though I could have said 6 months ago, because we now have an idea of what's going on. So
Yeah, but we could have had a 9 month story out of this.
Hmm.
we could have had, but no, we haven't. Anyway, updates will come down the line. Um,
Phrasing.
gents, people, well, I shouldn't say gents, people with male reproductive organs, check yourselves. If something's not right, go to the doctor. It is very important. I put it off for like 2 months until I ended up in hospital, and then I was like, okay, now I've got to get this dealt with. So yeah, and Ted in the background agrees.
You
So
once told me,
medical
T, that
stories.
one thing that you hate most about podcasts is when they have things like crying babies and dogs in the background.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it doesn't.
Yes,
I mean, it
I
doesn't help when my wife pulls onto the driveway and sits in there on her phone for 5 minutes, so the dog goes mad.
I'm surprised you can't hear the music on the podcast.
No, I can't.
no. But anyway, I hope yeah, you do get fixed.
So do I. So do I.
In my head, when Selina goes, I hope you get fixed. It kind of sounds like when something gets spayed.
Well, it might be both, regardless of the intent behind it. It might be both. We'll see. We'll see. This stuff runs in my family, so it again, if it runs in your family, get yourself checked, especially
It's a
when you
shame
get a
it's
bit.
taking them so long to get checked properly. But
Well, I can only put it down to incompetence, if I'm being
mm,
honest.
yeah.
I will put it down to incompetence, and I've been put on like three different periods of steroidal antibiotics for urinary tract infections, and I'm like, well, I don't have an infection because you did a dip test and it's gone to the urologist. But they're like, no, 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 just take the drugs. Okay, I won't argue with the doctor, even though they've said that it isn't that, and just gave me the steroids anyway, which made me feel really crap, to be honest. I don't know how bodybuilders do it. Well, with different steroids. So we really are becoming older. It's a podcast about complaining about your medical conditions, apparently.
Hey, this is purely for the people on Twitch and YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna yeah. This is the half an hour episode done of just
Oh, it's cut.
No, it is cut.
Ah, and the dog is still going. But
anyway.
let's talk about more medical stuff, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, should we move on to
Icons.
World Sight Day?
Yeah, let's do
World
it.
Sight Day and icons. We'll just
So,
assume that I put the music in
Yeah.
there.
yeah.
Mm.
So, Cleaves, you want to talk about website day first? Considering you have come prepared.
Nah, I'm more about icon-based facts. I probably should have been more clear to begin with. Icons originally
Okay.
aired on September 21st. No, sorry, it didn't. It aired. Originally aired. I'll start again. Icons originally aired on the 8th of September 2021. It was episode 39 of Seesaw Podcast, and it featured one of a few, but to name the most, cataracts. Oh, how we laughed, T. The japery we had. It's a simple operation. Go in, get it all cleaned up.
Yeah.
Karma, bitch.
Yeah.
It
What?
kicked me in the eyes.
Yeah. We took the piss out of the condition and then it whips you in the head.
On the
So,
bright side, we take the piss out of a lot of conditions, and that's what makes us us. And I'm not going to stop doing it. And maybe I'll get them down the line, and maybe I'll feel more. What's the word?
humbled.
No, like when you feel something for someone else.
Empathy.
Empathy.
Yeah, never heard of it. Anyway,
Oh, okay. So,
factoid's over. I don't necessarily want to go first, but
okay.
I sent you both the list in advance. I can tell you
Yes.
that I put mine on that list specifically, so neither of you guys picked it.
I wondered this, like I thought actually to be fair, about half of them I thought, have we really covered those?
We have done a lot.
We have. This is icon 6.
Wow. I don't know how many I've done. One or two?
Yeah, according to Icon's
yeah.
facts, I think you've been on 3 at least.
Oh,
This will be a
okay.
third, I believe. And it was
Okay,
actually
yeah.
one of mine that I've got, Selina, was one of yours that you mentioned in the infamous outro of Icons. I think it was the last one.
Did you know how to spell it off of the pronunciation?
No, but luckily Google actually corrected it for me. One of my highlights, that, Selina. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
Right.
we're not going to repeat of that kind of thing today. So
No,
Well,
no, that'll
we'll
be
wait for the
Wednesday.
edit. So I'm happy to kick us off if you like.
Go
okay,
for it.
as long as you've not got mine.
Well, do you have posterior cortical atrophy?
No,
Good.
continue.
From the
So,
Latin, meaning posterior, ass, and cortical, meaning cordless. And what was the last word?
atrophy.
Yes.
Well, I'm just going to call it PCA because that's the acronym it's used.
Also, here's another little fun fact. Sorry to interrupt. In every other icons, we've gone in one.
Okay. Well, you've already done that now. So, posterior cortical atrophy, and I will say PCA from this point onwards, is a rare form of dementia, which is
You know, we're doing
the,
icons, right?
I'll get to it. I'll get to it. This is a rare one. It's the loss of brain cells in the back of the brain. Now, this is icons. You're right. This causes vision loss and a deterioration of spatial awareness. Um, I'm trying to read my notes, and that's what's fun about this show is me trying to read.
If
So,
only you'd got it in audio form.
yep. So, in these instances, individuals they'll lose their sight. It's not necessarily peripheral or central. It can be just sporadic because it depends on what brain cells are deteriorating. They may not be able to understand distances or movement because of just not having that comprehension of it. They can also have trouble recognizing objects and faces, which paired with dementia is really not great because there's other things that come with dementia. And this is why a lot of frustration and being a bit lost and not knowing what's going on can happen as a result of this. So it isn't necessarily just dementia, it can be this that will also affect that because they might not genuinely understand or recognize the people that they're looking at. It can also cause memory issues as it goes on, just because when they can't recognize things, they can't supplant that information in their memory. And dementia, yeah, double whammy, also affects memory. So this is often a side effect of Alzheimer's in particular. It can also be caused by neurological conditions. So it's not necessarily just Alzheimer's or dementia. This extremely rare condition can even rarer occasions be through neurological conditions. So it's something to watch out for if you have a neurological condition.
What kind of neurological conditions?
It did not say, it just said some. And then I tried to look that up and I couldn't find anything. So feel free to Google it yourself and have a more stringent look. I wasn't going to read through a medical paper to find out what they were. It just said neurological conditions, but it said
That's
it was extremely rare. So
that's fine. You've done the acceptable amount of seesaw research,
good.
aka a cursory Google.
Yes.
Yep.
So there are no specific medications to cure or treat the symptoms, but some Alzheimer's medication can have an effect to slow the progression of it. So it's not like with many icons we've done in the past. Medication for other things can help, but it's only going to slow it down at best. It's not going to stop it from happening. And of course, as we know with many icons, I don't think we've had one yet where it hasn't been the case. There is no cure for this condition. PCA has no cure. Um, the interesting thing about having no cure is they're not actually looking for one. From what I could find from medical research, they're not trying to cure PCA because it usually 99% of the time goes with Alzheimer's. If they can fix Alzheimer's and stop that, then this, in theory, outside those neurological conditions, will not be a thing. So they're putting their eggs in the basket of let's solve Alzheimer's as a problem because this is very much symptomatic of that, as opposed to pouring the research into PCA itself. So I got us there. I got us there. It is icons.
Mhm.
Right.
A
Well,
bit of a
I've
difference
got a bit
still.
of information and then a few questions.
Okay.
One, if you Google PCA, you may get the Physical Culture Association that is to do with bodybuilding. So I'm
I
just
mean,
saying, maybe try and spell the full thing and let Google help you out with that.
yeah.
Secondly, how are they testing for this? If you've got dementia, it's not like anyone can really tell you that their eyesight's going, or can they?
Well, because dementia is progressive, the sight loss will come on whilst people will still have a fair amount of capacity. And then through doing like MRI scans, they can identify like the brain cells at the back of the brain dying, and they are linked quite heavily to the visual spectrum and ability. So they can kind of pick up on it from there, identify it, and then from that point you know that it's going to be progressive because of Alzheimer's kind of kills your brain. So it's not going to stop at that. The brain cells will just keep deteriorating, and it's in that location where it is the visual understanding and processing part of your brain.
By that logic, right? If it does it get worse the worse the Alzheimer's gets, or the worse the dementia gets?
Yes, that's the problem with it because more
But then,
deterioration of the
okay,
brain
fine. But
makes the
yeah,
sight
if there's more
worse.
deterioration of the brain, right, how are they testing the more deterioration of sight and not just the sort of deterioration of the brain part?
I imagine they try and do acuity tests, but with more onset dementia, that's going to be hard to do. I
Yeah.
think just by observation, if someone's in a care home or something like that, it will be on their care plan just to monitor any behaviors that are like indicating acceleration of the condition. So if they're no longer able to find the cup on the table when they could have done that a couple of months ago, then that's going to be an indication that it is getting worse because that's not necessarily them forgetting the cup is there. That's just identifying the cup.
But then,
So
do they ever forget that they could see?
I don't know. From what I could find, that I mean that's a really specific question.
Yeah, it sounded kind of stupid when I said it, but like,
I mean potentially. I mean dementia has a lot of effects. It affects everyone in different ways, and there are cases of people forgetting their family, their friends, their careers, that sort of thing. But in some cases, people will have terrible short-term memory, but will have full comprehension of early life. So it really depends. It's where the deterioration of the brain occurs that affects what sort of dementia a person has. And that's why it's such a difficult thing to research and medicate, try and cure, because it's not a one size fits all for everyone. It's very much everyone is different.
okay,
And that's PCA.
Physical Culture Association.
No,
Get
posterior.
ripped.
Well, you could look up both and learn about posterior cortical atrophy and also bodybuilding.
Why is it called posterior? That sounds like a butt thing.
Posterior is the back of the body. It's
Hmm.
it's associated with the butt, but the you have the
The
posterior,
butt
which
butt.
is the back of the body, and the anterior, that's the front.
And the cortical is brain. So it is the
Yes.
back of the brain.
That's
It,
why I
it
explained at the beginning,
yes, it's
the Latin
literally
parts.
yeah. If we're translating it from mine and Selina's knowledge that filling in Cleaves' blanks here, it is
How
literally
dare you?
back brain falling apart.
Yes.
That's basically what it means.
Hmm.
But when you put it in Latin, it sounds much cooler.
But
And that
okay.
is my icon.
Do you want to go next, Selena, or do you want me to go next?
I'm having a slight meltdown at the moment, so I think it's best that you should go next, and I'll explain why when it comes to my go.
Have you done your research? Or are you
I
Googling right now?
No, she
feel
had
like
posterior, whatever.
I should have come up with a backup icon, and perhaps we should improve communication
I
before
gave
doing.
you a list of stuff we'd already done.
We didn't have teeth on it, did it?
Well, no, that was up for tea.
Well, now
What
we have.
did you have
So
mine?
No, she got some sort of dementia-based one, though, I imagine.
let's give it
Ah,
back. Cleaves, you're
so
up.
you haven't got the same as mine. Maybe we can hear about your form of dementia eyesight.
No,
It's the
please
same.
next. Please
Right, I'll
next.
go next. Okay. My next one is actually, as I mentioned prior, one of Selena's things that she couldn't sort of pronounce, but could pronounce. This is one of the easier ones to Google anyway, and ones that were actually an eyesight and not just some sort of neurological condition. I've done Horner syndrome. Comes
Oh
from the
yeah.
Latin horner, meaning great, yet extremely unlikable, and syndrome, which is Latin for allegedly sending indecent pictures to work colleagues.
That's a
Horner
smart joke.
syndrome. Thank you. Wrote that one in advance. It's also known as Bernard Horner syndrome or ocular sympathetic palsy, meaning sensitive to eyes that don't work as well as they should.
I'm loving these Latin translations.
That one's probably closer than the first, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Horner condition affects the face and eye on one side of the body. It is often caused by the disruption of a nerve, or nerve pathway, I guess, from the brain to the head and neck.
So yours is brain related as well.
Sort of, but it's not dementia related. We've
Okay,
done 6 episodes. Calm down.
As long as it's called something different, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
okay.
Horner syndrome may be the result of another medical problem, such as not dementia, a stroke, tumor, spinal cord injury, or in some cases, no cause really, just happens.
Oh.
Some of the delightful symptoms of this are a persistently small pupil, meiosis. I'm pretty sure we've touched on that previously.
We have.
A notable difference in pupil size between the two eyes. Anisocoria. Big and little pupils.
Oh.
Next one. Little or delayed opening. It says, oh, I've even put in brackets dilation of the affected pupil.
So proud of yourself there.
Yeah, I've put it in brackets, but I also think that maybe I've just copied that. in dim light, basically. So it doesn't react to light very well. It's kind of a little bit like RP, to be fair.
Everything's like RP. Move on.
All right, jealous. The drooping of the upper eyelid called ptosis, or the slight elevation of the lower lid, which is sometimes called upside down ptosis. I'm not sure if you can have both at the same, like one down, one up. That's basically a closed eye, effectively, isn't it, when you think about it?
Yeah.
A sunken appearance of the affected eye. Little or no, I've definitely copied this. Little or no sweating, anhidrosis, I've put in brackets, so it's definitely copied, on the affected side of the face. So, at least you're not going to be sweaty on one side. That's nice. Oh man, I've even put some kids' symptoms down here. This is bad. Lighter iris color in the affected eye of a child under the age of 1. Me. It's like I've not read my own notes. Or a change in the color of the affected side of the face that would typically appear from heat or physical exertion or emotional reactions. So I guess like one side of your face is going to go super red, but the other's not. Like the time I snorted pepper through a £5 note. Horrible.
Many questions, but carry on.
Such a boy thing to do. It is.
Just seemed like a good idea at the time.
It wasn't a good idea, though, was it?
I
No.
was at school and boys used to put like Vicks under their eyes. What are you doing?
Yeah, that's not
Why?
a smart thing to do. Like that really isn't.
Boy, think
Let
of
your
it.
eyes breathe, don't they? If they're a bit congested.
Hmm.
Anyway, it says seek a doctor if symptoms occur, like persistent symptoms occur with the below: impaired vision, dizziness, slurred speech, difficulty walking, muscle weakness or lack of muscle control, and severe sudden headache or neck pain. That just sounds like I've walked into something after being wasted.
Yeah, I mean those are symptoms.
Want to know what the cure for this is?
Hmm.
None.
None! You got
Uh,
it. Absolutely none. So, in most cases, it's the underlying condition that causes the side effect of the sight. So, for example, the stroke, which is, is pretty well renowned that, half your face can sort of droop and things like that, and on one side of your body. But if you take sort of stroke medication and things like that after you've had it, it can uh, control the effects and lessen it. So, there is a chance that for example, if your eye is starting to droop, that it can start to go back to its original position.
hmm.
So I guess there is a little bit of there's some hope for there with that one. But yeah, that's what I've got on Horner
Horner.
syndrome.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I assume it's named after Bernard Horner. That's why they sometimes called Bernard Horner syndrome, maybe?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's pretty safe to assume that.
Mm.
Hmm. He wasn't the first to have it. Do you think he founded it? Do we know this information?
I like how you're trying to drag it out, Selena, before yours turns up. And that's
I
me
like
trying to
how
drag
you.
it out, not knowing the answer to that question.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I mean, I think it's just to give Selena more time. There's a lot of similarities with a lot of the conditions we've done over the years to, let's say, well, you know how like in dams you have a master log which holds everything together. It seems like RP is that for visual impairments because everything's sort of like it. We all know
Yeah.
people with RP are losers.
And now that I remember more clearly,
Mm,
it's because Claude Bernard Horner was associated with the condition, particularly in France and Italy,
Mm.
right.
which hasn't actually offered you much more
No, no,
information.
No,
that
no.
explains nothing.
I mean, Selena, you could also do Louis Braille condition.
Nailed to the eyes.
Yeah, may cause blindness and the need to invent some rudimentary communication system based on dots.
Nothing wrong with it.
Ah, that's all the time we have. So, Selena, it's over to you.
Oh, hang on, hang on. I actually have even more now that I think even harder about Bernard Horner syndrome, which now that I've thought about it even harder, it was actually coined in 1869 by the Swiss ophthalmologist Johann Friedrich Horner. So I have no idea why Bernard has anything to do with it.
Right.
Well, this is what he's known as down the pub. Oh, Bernie.
Sure.
Maybe it's this dog.
That would be great. It's named an eye condition after his dog. Ah, like Rex myopia. Oh, dear.
So we come to me. I should have gone first.
In free.
Yeah. I
We
don't
didn't
know
do it too.
why, what reasoning there is that we've all gone down this neurological road.
Because we've all done the other ones in the last 5 episodes.
But there's so many that we could have picked.
And
Not,
yet.
Not according to the small list that rare eye conditions Google gave me.
Oh, you
Well,
looked at
I
that
didn't
too.
Google anything. I already picked one that's been on my radar for some time, and that I've done research into before. Then I just refreshed it a little bit earlier whilst having my dinner. So my one is cerebral visual impairment, CVI. So cerebral meaning brain, visual impairment, basically. Um,
He's just got his head in his hands. You
I
can't
have,
see
you're
it.
right. Brilliant. Yeah, go on.
I know, right? So I picked this one because I've kind of come across a couple of people that have it, and I think it's a really interesting condition because everybody that has it affects them in a different way. So basically, what it is there's nothing wrong with your eyes, as it suggests. It's the brain.
Right.
That,
Okay. I'm just going to say the same thing that I said to T. You know, it's icons, right? We're not doing
yeah,
brain cons here, people.
Change the intro. Change the intro.
I know. But anyway, we're here now. What can we do? Hopefully, it's like World Brain Day, like on the day this comes out, or something instead, and it's all fine. It's what we meant to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
At least yours has vision in it. Mine didn't even have that. Mine had but.
True, exactly. Mine's proper. So people that have cerebral vision impairment, it can happen at any time. It can happen in childhood, adulthood, for no reason whatsoever, because of trauma, because of dementia or stroke. Um, and how it impacts someone, it can be that, like, for a minute they can see and then they can't see anything. It could be when it's a noisy environment, it means that they lose their vision, or the lights are too bright, or if they're tired, or if they're in a happier mood, they might be able to see, but not if they're in a sad mood. And the amount of vision that each person can have of it can also vary vastly. Some people might have quite good vision, and some people might have none at all. Said the eye is absolutely fine. It's all to do with the brain and the way it processes stuff. The brain can look completely normal again for some people, but for others, there might be some things that show up on an MRI because of some other neurological thing. But yeah, it's a really interesting one to think that 1 minute you can have your sight and the next minute you don't. As for like cures, it kind of can be cured in some people as well. So for some people, it might just go away and then they're just back to normal and their brain remembers how to see again. For others, they say, like, we don't know anything until we're taught it. So you can, I don't know how, I did read weird things, but you can teach the person to see again so that they understand, like the brain understands what it's seeing and interpreting. So it's a really strange one. And I picked it because of that, not because it was anything related to the brain. But the brain's interesting, probably more so than eyes. So maybe that's why we all went down that road.
So with this,
Mm-hmm.
you say largely like, for example, it can be induced by trauma. For example, like, you know, if they see something horrible and they go blind because they don't want to see it. By the time I saw a photo of T's mom in the bath.
Yeah, I mean, it could happen because of
When would that happen?
I don't know.
Who took the picture?
Your mom, it was a selfie.
Okay, let's move on, please.
Anyway, by that logic, right? If you can like work through your trauma, would therapy help them be able to see again?
possibly, as I said, they say like it's just reteaching the brain for some people that it happens too. You can also get like cerebral audio impairment as well, like so your hearing does a similar thing where there's nothing wrong with your ears, but a bit of your brain just switches off and
That's
you
called
can't
sticking
hear.
your head in the sand or putting your fingers in your ears and going la 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 la.
But yeah, it is an odd one.
I think it's interesting though, like you were saying, how dependent on like environmental factors, that's interesting, but someone's mood, so it must be linked to like the hormones like serotonin, like melanin, that sort of thing. So someone being in a good mood and having more sight. I mean, that's got to be a really weird one. But I'd be more interested in the opposite. Is there someone out there with CVI who's an absolute dickbag because they're like, I can't help it, mate. It makes me see better. Would you believe that? Oh no. I see better when I'm an arse. It's like, okay, liar.
Is
That's
it
really interesting.
is it
It's
similar
really
to
hard to
autism?
diagnose as well. I don't know, but it's really hard to diagnose because there's nothing actually wrong with their eyes, especially in children. Like you might not understand why they can see something 1 minute and then not another, or if they're looking at something funny or not reacting to something visual. Um,
I hear it's most common in babies and young children, but can continue into adulthood.
because yeah, it's that whole teaching the brain to see. So like I guess in children, that's what they can
Oh,
do.
because they don't understand it, so they just kind of shut off.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's like you
Wow.
have to learn to read, don't you? Or you have to learn. We have to learn to speak. We have to learn everything. If you, this, we learn how to see as well in the same way, I guess.
Hmm. Uh, yeah, hmm. It's an odd one, isn't it? It's an odd one. Like that, I think that's the most interesting one we've had tonight, to
Rude.
be fair. And it isn't about just getting old like my one.
No,
Oh, oh, that is interesting. And there's no cure for it, of course.
well, I said you can magically your brain can go, oh yeah, I get it now.
Ah, but that's self-cure. Like medicine ain't doing that, is it?
No, I don't think you can take anything for it. No,
Ah,
the
wow.
stress.
Well, if you see better when you're happy, just eat a lot of ice cream, I guess.
No, you're not going to get any other medical conditions by doing that. No.
Well, they can get sugar-free ice cream.
You can also get fat.
Not with sugar-free ice cream. You
You
also
sure
won't
you
get
can?
happiness
It'd be
either.
full of milk and like I don't know all the other
Calories.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you
Might
want to be
get brain.
blind or fat?
Arguably neither.
Oh, there's a question to ask when you're down the pub.
Would you rather be blind or morbidly obese to the point that you can't move without a like one of those little scooter things?
Yeah. In which case, you'll probably get type 2 diabetes. And as we've established in previous icons, that can cause blindness as well. So,
True.
yeah.
That
Do
could
do
be
you want CVI or
this week's poll that we've never done before. Blind or morbidly obese? Let us know.
that won't offend anyone?
Oh, it's just a question, isn't it? Just pick one.
Yeah, we're just asking questions. That's what it's about. People are
Exactly.
balanced. Oh, well, I don't know what you're on about, Selena. That was really interesting.
Yeah, but it was all brain related.
Yeah, but it's a vision-based brain thing. And deep down, aren't we all just victims of our brains?
Hmm.
Well, not me, because it's nothing to do with my brain, but well, maybe the nystagmus. Maybe the nystagmus. But that just makes my eyes all shitty and wobbly. I don't do nothing.
We've already done that.
I know.
Yeah,
See episode 2 of Icons? I don't know.
just listen to them all.
Yeah, listen to them all. Especially the last one, because there was some memorable moments throughout.
I'm telling you, that is a highlight of my time on this podcast so far.
Oh,
We need to have some at the end. I'm sure
No.
you've got the files.
No.
No, we did a highlights episode for episode 200, so it would suck if that turned up on there.
Ah. Why did I do this show? Why?
Why did I say that? I can't, because the outro was different back then. If I wanted to put it on the new one, it'd mean having to go in and edit all the intro, outro and stuff. So
I wouldn't want you doing any excess work.
nah, me neither.
Well,
hard enough already on this podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
well, we'll see what happens.
Right.
Well, there you have it. 3 more icons to go on the list. We've pretty much done them all now. Like, collected them all. If you'd like to get some of your very own icons collector's cards, you can make them yourself.
As featured in another one.
Yeah.
Episode of icons. We mentioned the Pokemon style icon cards.
Oh, yeah. I like the idea of a sticker book.
All right, fine.
I mean,
oh yeah, we did actually mention that in the last one as well, because we talked about shinies and not being able to tell they were shiny.
Textured ones. That's what you'd do.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Which we're not going to do.
Yeah, I'm not going to fund that.
But if you would like to do that, please do. Don't expect any input from us.
Okay.
We'll send you the list. At the minimum, we'll send you the list if you need it. Mm-hmm. That's about it.
We've got a whole cover section now for a brain section as well. So
yeah. Oh, have you completed your brain page yet? No. I'm still missing CVI.
Okay.
I'll change a nystagmus for RP. No, I've already got
I've got like 20 RPs.
Yeah, that's going to be like the one that's in every pack.
Over the pack is 8 RP and just 1 other.
Yeah.
It still annoys me when that's like the 3rd on the list when you type in rare eye condition. It's not fucking rare. It's not rare. Come on. If you have a rare eye condition, let us know. And then we can have a fun, jovial little chat about it. And hopefully someone will learn something. But not me. But until next week.
You know what? I'm just wondering if this episode's long enough. And I've listened back to a recent episode that wasn't long enough. And what Cleaves did to fill...
God, I already told you that was the worst thing I ever do, all right? And I've been very conscious since then to make sure that they were all good and full of little jingles and all that kind of shit, all right? I've really put the work in since then because I realised I slacked off in that episode.
You did, because I asked you to put in the crossing box sound from France and you didn't do it. And that could have filled the time instead of some random highlights.
It wouldn't have filled 10 minutes.
I mean, you could have just kept it going on a repeat.
I guess.
10 minutes of this.
Yeah, that would have been a real low point for me.
Yeah.
It's still a low point now, but still.
Yeah.
All right. Let's finish this. Fuck me. Right.
Thank you, one and all, for joining us. Thank you on Twitch. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for listening at home. Send your icons to us. We may do them in the future at some point. But we're running out, so they've got to be good. Come on.
All right.
So until next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to Seesaw Podcast. Your feedback and comments mean a lot to us, so if you'd like to get in touch, you can do so in the following ways.
You can find us on X at Seesaw Pod, Facebook, Instagram and YouTube at Seesaw Podcast. You can email us at seesawpodcast@gmail.com and you can stream with us live every week on Twitch at Seesaw Podcast.
Remember to like, rate, review and share with a friend.
This podcast was recorded in front of a blind audience.